Hi there, welcome to Literature for the Sake of Literature. My name is Desmona, and in this series, we are going to be covering all the grade 10 ICSE poems, starting with The Glove and the Lions by Lee Hunt. Now, Lee Hunt was a romantic poet. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that he only wrote about romance? Not really. The marker of a romantic poet is to write about nature or about human emotions. And the human emotion in full display in this poem is love. So, now let's really understand that emotion, love. What is love? Is love just a feeling? Well, yes, but it's so much more than that. Love means, it has a definition. It means willing the good of the other. So now let's see whether the characters in this poem live up to that definition of love. Now, this poem was written about a historic king, King Francis, who lived around the 1500s. And a very important societal standard at this point was chivalry. Now, what is chivalry? Chivalry means that men were expected to really protect and care for women, and women in turn were required to respect men a whole lot. Now, let's see again whether the characters in this poem live up to these societal standards. So, what are we waiting for? Let's begin with stanza one, shall we? King Francis was a hearty king and loved a royal sport. Hearty here refers to a person with a lot of energy who's full of life, and the royal sport means that this entertainment was crafted for this particular king, King Francis. And one day, as the lions fought, sat looking at the court, as the lions were fighting, there were people sitting in the court or the stadium. And who were these people? We're going to learn it in the next line. The nobles filled the benches and the ladies in their pride. Who is a noble? A noble refers to those people that belong to the highest class of society. And the ladies in their pride. Pride refers to their appearance. So they were dressed in the nines. And amongst them sat the Count the Lodge with for one for whom he sighed. So among them sat the Count de Lodge. Count is a title given to a nobleman with one for whom he sighed. There is a woman here for whom he is sighing, who he is crushing over, who is literally taking his breath away. And truly, it was a gallant thing to see that crowning show. Gallant here refers to this extraordinary spectacle of the noblemen and the king and the love and the lions, all right? Valor and love, and a king above and the royal beasts below. Valor means fighting spirit, and there is a contrast here that the poet is creating through imagery. So there's class and sophistication up in the court, and the wild lions, which represent violence and really an uncivilized behavior, they are fighting down. So there is a contrast here that the poet is drawing for us. Now, when we look at the stanza, okay, we notice the rhyme scheme, and the rhyme scheme here is AABBCC. How did we come to this? Because if you look at line 1 and line 2, they are both ending with rhyming words, sport and quote. So that's AA. Line 3 and 4, again, the ending words are rhyming. Pride and side, BB. And finally, show and below, line 5 and 6, rhyme, so that's CC. So it follows the AABBCC rhyme scheme, and we see this throughout the poem. Moving on to stanza 2. Ramped and roared the lions with horrid laughing jaws. Now here the lions are not actually laughing. The poet is using personification to really show us the force with which these lions are interacting with each other. Ramped here means, they really they were swinging up. The movement was a force, was of them jumping about to attack the other. They bit, they glared, gave blows like beams. A wind went with their paws. Glare means to really look at the other with anger, and give blows like beams. Again, the force with which their claws were hitting the other, it was like a wooden beam hitting the other lion. And a wind went with their paws. So there was a lot of quick motion. With wallowing might and stifled roar, they rolled on one another. They are rolling, they are struggling here, they are wallowing. And there was a stifled row. Stifled row means they are trying to stop the other from rowing. Till all the pit with sand and main was in a thunderous smother. Thunderous smother is a metaphor here. It means that there is a noisy chaos, okay? And the pit which is supposed to be only sand, is now filled with also the mane or the hair of the lion. The bloody foam above the bars came whisking through the air. Whisking means to move very quickly. So when two animals fight, there's always like foam in their mouth. So that saliva is flying everywhere. It's whisking through the air. Said Francis then, "Faith, gentlemen, we are better here than there." So he's very humorously saying, and he's telling his peers to relax, and he's saying that there is relief for us to be up here watching these two animals fight, because they are in a safe place. So this is the meaning of stanza 1 and stanza 2. Let's move on to stanza 3 and 4, shall we? The lodge's love overheard the king a beauteous, lovely dame. So this beautiful woman that was with the count, she's overhearing the king, and she's smiling. Her lips, her bright eyes, they all described in the next line with smiling lips and sharp bright eyes, which always seem the same. The poet is reiterating how beautiful she is, how her beauty is always constant. She thought, "The count, my love, is brave as brave can be." The poet here is using a simile and trying to really describe just how brave this nobleman was. "He surely would do wondrous things to show his love for me." She knows in her heart that this incredible man, this noble man who is madly in love with her, would just grant her any of her desires. Kings, ladies, lovers all look on the occasion as divine. And what better place to have this nobleman show his love for her than in front of the celebrities of the time. There were kings, there were noblemen, there was everybody there. And the occasion was just divine, a divine moment for her love to prove his love for her. "I'll drop my glove to prove his love. Great glory will be mine." So here she's unraveling her plan. She's going to drop her love, and in her head, she thinks that this nobleman is just going to rush down, pick up the glove, and everybody will be like, "Wow!" The eyes will be off the lions and back onto them to to unveil their epic love story. She dropped her glove to prove his love, then looked at him and smiled. She didn't even have to tell him, "Hey, go down there." Her smile was enough for the nobleman to understand what was at stake here and what was expected of him. He bowed and in a moment leaped among the lions wild. He did it. He jumped. He went down with the lions to retrieve the glove. The leap was quick. The return was quick. He has regained his place. He's back. He's back in the court with the rest of the royalty. He's got he's gotten back the glove. Then threw the glove, but not with love, right in the lady's face. Remember the time of history we are talking about, the time of chivalry where men and women are supposed to mutually respect each other. This spectacle of this nobleman throwing the glove back into the woman's face was anything but chivalrous. And now the woman got her wish. Her wish was what? That the eyes would move from the lions and onto her. And she got her wish. Nobody was looking at the lions anymore. Everybody was looking at what was going on between this couple. And what did the king say? He responded by saying, "By God," said Francis, "rightly done." And he rose from where he sat. He's saying, "My God," his eyes were off the lions too. He in fact got up, and then he told the count, "No love," quoth he, "but vanity sets love a task like that." He's saying that this isn't true love, it's vanity. Vanity means pride, excessive pride. And he knows, and everybody who's also reading this poem knows, that true love never will ask the other to be to get tested. That's not true love. Love is what is love? Love is willing the other, it's not testing the other. So we've come to the end of the poem, and this poem really makes us reflect on the relationships in our lives, the relationships that we have with our family members, our friends, whoever that may be. And it asks us, to really check these relationships. Are people in these relationships manipulating us or challenging our love? And if they are, then this poem is reminding us to take a step back and to set some boundaries in these relationships so that we can have a very happy and fulfilling life and actually be surrounded by people that love us and that we love. So this is incredible. poem for us at this stage in our lives, when you guys are teenagers, to really keep a check on all the relationships in your lives. All right. With that, we have come to the end of this poem. I will see you in the next one.